Panthers at Bucks. This will be Saturday afternoon game. Bucks 3-point favorites here at home. We saw this just a couple weeks ago. 43.5 points is the over-under. Panthers won that game first time around. Who wins, and how does it look this time around?
I don't think either of these teams really want to be here based on how they looked last week. Obviously, the Panthers getting dismantled by the Seahawks, which we felt like was going to happen. But the Buccaneers coming out flat against the Dolphins is a really, really bad warning sign for what's going to happen in this game. I actually wrote about for CBS Sports what's wrong with the Bucs offense. And I think a large part of it is Baker Mayfield has played so antsy that I think a lot of the injury and then just some general, like a general drop in his on target rate. His accuracy has gone down since the first 6 weeks of the season. And that might be the injury, but he also has played like he does not trust his play caller, offensive line, or receivers. There are plays in the Miami game where he's bailing on clean pockets to scramble. He's bailing on an open Mike Evans. He's throwing plays late, but you still have those scrambles that help keep them in the game anyway. So it's sort of like Baker Mayfield is sort of entering the range of like early career, like Josh Allen, where like, man, you're going to miss a lot of stuff, but you also have to play the chaos game with him because he can make some high variance plays. And I don't know if it's worth like making those high variance. I don't know if it's worth those high variance plays in this game where you have to win or go home. So I'm curious how Josh Grzar gets Baker Mayfield to sort of just chill out and trust his offensive line, trust his play caller, and trust his skill position players who look like they might be fully back in this game.
Baker since week 7, according to PFF, lowest graded quarterback in the NFL. It's not as if since the full complement of weapons has come back that he's looked that much better. Now, the pick at the end of the game against the Dolphins he had some picks in that game, not necessarily his fault. I do think that he's just, whether it's injury, something, he's off. Like he's not the same guy we saw early on the season. And then I do think it has been injury hampering him throughout the year. At some point, he probably should have sat down to let it heal. Obviously, didn't get that opportunity. And that's why it looks what it looks like. This feels like a almost put them out of the misery game where whoever loses this game, I don't think is too broken up. Because for the Panther side, it's like icing on the cake. You didn't think you were going to be. From the Bucs side, it's like, if you're a Bucs fan, you're like, hey, we might actually get a new head coach next year. You know, we might get a new play caller in there. We might have some turnover here because this season has just gone way south for them.
Yeah, it looks and feels like the Bucs are sort of a dead team walking at this point. It feels like they have not been able to generate anything consistently on the defensive side of the ball. The game against Miami was one of their worst games under Todd Bowles. I mean, they had play action. Like the Dolphins ran a bootleg on 3rd and 12 on their own 2-yard line and picked up a first down because none of the linebackers were actually paying attention and had to respect the run on 3rd and 12 from the 2-yard line. So it's just those things where I'm sort of like, I don't know if this Bucs team has it this year. And I mean, for the Panthers, you're saying you're maybe like 1 year ahead of schedule, 1 or 2 years ahead of schedule. But something that really stood out in the Seahawks game was they just don't have enough speed in this receiver core. I mean, and this is not me saying that I don't like their receiver core. Obviously, Tedero McMillan, Jalen Coker are very good, but they need, I was talking to a bunch of my friends. I was like, they need a Darnell Mooney. Like what Darnell Mooney meant to the Falcons offense, they need something like that for their offense where the speed and the vertical separation can really help. I mean, Xavier Leggette's fast, but also can't catch. So you're sort of just out, you're just trotting them out there to do nothing. But they need some actionable like verticality and vertical separation to help open up some of the lanes for Coker and McMillan.
Yeah, they need like twitch. You know, you need someone who, you know, and the good news is I think in this draft class, there's going to be a bunch of guys on like day 2 who kind of fit that mold, who are going to be athletes more so than, you know, not number 1 type of wide receivers, not number 2 type of wide receivers, but that third guy who just maybe if you get hands on him, it's a problem, but down the football field, if you give him a free release, can at least stretch safeties, at least open up things for other people. Whereas that's, Xavier Legette runs in the 4-3s, ran the 4-3s coming out. That's not who he is. He's not a twitchy mover. He is a build up long speed guy, but I don't think anyone really fears him as a deep threat. And yeah, you saw 54 passing yards against the Seahawks on 31 dropbacks. That is, Jets-esque sort of production at the quarterback position. That's just, you're not going to win a lot of games doing that. So I'm in complete agreement there. I think this season for the Panthers obviously been a roaring success, but you've also very much identified where our breaking points are, where we need to get better, which is kind of a good thing. You know where you're at, things are getting better, but you know where you need to address as a roster, and hopefully they will next offseason. We got to pick it though. We got to go one way or the other here, JP. Who do we think wins this one?
I am actually going with the Carolina Panthers in this one. I went back and watched the last game that they played, and I went back and looked at some stats to sort of back up the thoughts that I had. And on 3rd and 4th down in that game against the Buccaneers, Bryce Young went 6 for 9, had a 44.4% success rate, 0.45 EPA per dropback. So that's basically sort of the Panthers' game plan this year offensively, is create as many short 3rd and 4th downs as possible, minimize the game, don't allow the other offense to have as many possessions touching the ball, and just let your young quarterback, let Bryce Young literally go out there and try and make plays on 3rd and 4th and short, because now you're in a position where you could either use the threat of the run game or Bryce Young's legs to extend plays. And I think against the Bucs, they found a lot of hay going after Benjamin Morrison with Tedero McMillan, Jalen Coker. So I just think that this Bucs team sort of feels toothless at this point, and I feel like this Panthers team is ready to make that jump to winning that 9th game. And I just think they're going to have a little bit more offensively on late downs because of Bryce Young.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Panthers as well. And I think it's because of how injured the Bucs are. In the secondary, Benjamin Morrison, limited in practice, may not play in this one. Jamel Dean still hasn't practiced this week, may not play in this one. If those two guys are down, and it's like Kindle Vildor, Josh Hayes as your starting cornerbacks, you're in trouble. I don't care who you're playing against. So, yeah, give me the Panthers in this one.